Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore. It's time for another whiskey tasting, another black tie affair. So we got another smoky whiskey, favorites of mine, and we're going to Islay for this one. And this is one of those whiskeys that gets mispronounced quite often. And so for you that don't know and you're just watching the channel for the first time, if you go back through, I have videos that are short clip videos. They were actually to help me more than anything when I was doing my writing for the Whiskey Lore Stories podcast, where I was like, oh man, I just want to refresh my memory on exactly how you pronounce this name and how you pronounce this name. So I went back, got all of the pronunciations that I could find. If I was confused on some, I went and found videos of people at the distillery talking about them. Some of them I knew from going to the distilleries. You just had to practice them a lot. And there are a few that I have caught some flack on. And I'm going to tell you what they are right now so that you know. This is one of them, the whiskey I'm tasting today. Another would be Glen Murray, which I pronounce Glen Murray. And I've had people say, I've never heard it pronounced Glen Murray, it's Glen Moray. And I said, well, I've actually heard the distillery manager call it Glen Murray. And I think the difference is that because I have an American accent, it sounds like I'm saying Murray, but if you heard a Scotsman say it, it sounds like a version of Moray, Glen Moray. Okay. So that could be a difficulty too. Where the biggest issue comes in is that there is a Scottish actor named Brian Cox who sadly did a bunch of videos where he pronounced Scotch whiskey names and really didn't get them right. And so I have people who watch that and then they come back over to me and they go, well, you're wrong, because he's a Scotsman, he's gonna say it right. But the thing is that here in the United States, there are places that I could pronounce that you would say, yeah, I'm pronouncing it properly. I'll give you two big examples, and you're going to get these right from here on forward, okay? It's Louisville. It is not Louisville. And it's New Orleans. It's New Orleans, not New Orleans. You'll hear New Orleans all the time. So, but you will hear people say that, and they'll say New Orleans, and they're from, Washington State, or they're from California, or whatever. And that's just the way they kind of grew up saying it. And they don't say it like the locals say it. Well, therein lies the issue. Louisville, when I go to Kentucky, I hear people from Ohio saying Louisville, and, it's, you think, they're American, they live very close to it, why wouldn't they get it right? But I hear, this is one I get too, Cincinnati. I've heard a lot of people say Cincinnati, but it's Cincinnati. Maybe it's, I have to check with some people from Cincinnati to see if they say it that way. Missouri, I hear that too. Why the I all of a sudden becomes an A, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who's mispronouncing those. I may have some egg on my face and find out that actually people in Missouri pronounce it that way, but as far as I'm concerned, it's Missouri. So anyway, this is the problem with pronunciations. You're going to have people who are going to have different ways of saying things, but my goal is to figure out the way they say it at the distillery and try to go with that. Now, there's one that I really have a lot of trouble with that I honestly, maybe one of the videos that I've done that I may backpedal a little bit on and say, all right, maybe there's room, it could go either way, because I've heard it either way, and that's Ledaig. I say Ledaig, and other people put the emphasis Ledaig or Ledaig. They'll just throw the emphasis in a different place. But sometimes you just gotta own it and go with what you go with. But this is definitely Caol, not what Brian Cox says. Brian Cox calls it Cool Isla. Now, it does come from the island of Islay, and the name really does mean the sound of Islay, but it's not spelled the same as Islay, and it actually is pronounced Caol. Caol. And this is the 12-year expression. This is a whiskey that is smoky. It's not as smoky as its neighbors, Laphroaig, Lagavulin, some of the Bruichladdich, but it's still smoky. It still has a really nice smoke to it. A lot of this whiskey ends up in blends. In fact, 95% of it ends up in blends, which is, to me, a crime, because this is a really, really nice whiskey. You'll see it's very light in color. This is a -2 on my Walker scale. And so there's no color in this. A bravo, Diageo, for not putting color into this. Sometimes the larger corporations just do it. And unfortunately, you know, it may be a inhibitor to a full tasting experience. Not sure on the chill filtering on this one, assuming they probably do, but not really sure on that. And this has such a nice, salty, briny, smoked bacon, smoked ham, smoked ham. I don't know, smoked bacon. Yeah, I guess you could have smoked bacon. I don't know. Bacon, smoked ham. It has a little bit of a matchstick character to it. Oh man, but there is such a marine smell to this. It really has a nice, and it's not the iodine-y kind of smell that you get on the other side of the island. It's just, again, that saltiness that comes in. It's got a little earthy character, and there's a nice floral nature to it. It is a really interesting whiskey in that, yes, it's smoky, but there is a lot going on inside this glass. Very nice, smoky, beautiful mouthfeel to it. It's not an overly heavy whiskey like a Glenglassaugh, but it is substantial. If there's anything that draws me, that would be a slight drawback on this whiskey, I think, is just there's, I get a little bitter that comes in, but it's just a hint of bitter, and it doesn't really stick around for long. So I don't want to overemphasize that, because it's definitely not what's really sticking out here. You get more lemon pepper out of this. I actually get kind of a lemon meringue kind of an experience out of that, and then that nice rich smoke is through the entire whiskey. I would think that when somebody's had a Talisker and they're heading towards Islay and they want to get into the more smoky whiskeys, this is a really nice step in between. It's going to give you a really nice mouthfeel. The smoke is pleasant throughout. Remember, if you're not a smoky whiskey drinker, that you got to change your mindset and move from sweet whiskey to savory whiskey, because this is truly a savory whiskey, something that would pair really nicely with smoked meats. And yeah, it's just a wonderful nose. This is another whiskey that you just sit there and nose all day. It just has, there's just something about it. Got a little citrus note in it. I don't know if it's orange. It's probably more on the lemon side. Really good. If you guys have enjoyed the video and hopefully improved your Scottish pronunciation by jumping back and watching some of my older videos, thank you very much. Please, if you got some value out of this, click the like button, and if you want to see more of these videos, then subscribe, and that gets me more bottles of whiskey and more things to tell you. So until next time, cheers and Slainte Bob. That's a good whiskey.